Hi guys, welcome to another Pilgrim car review, and today we have the BMW 330i Touring on review with us today. And it's a rather interesting review because in Singapore specifically, we have only a few variants of the BMW 3 Series. So right at the bottom, you have the 318i sedan, and then at the top of the line, you have the M340i sedan. And this is actually the mid-spec car, the 330i, which is only available in this touring format. And interestingly, I am of the opinion that the 330i Touring could be the best of the bunch, and I'll tell you why in today's review as well. But before we get started on today's review, if you are a driver in Singapore and you're thinking about selling or consigning your car for the best price possible, be sure to check out the link in the description box below, because through that link we will be able to help you to do just that and get the best price possible for your car. There is also another link for insurance renewal. In case your car is due for insurance renewal, we can also help you to source the best price for your car insurance. And with that, let's get started with the review. Alright, so this is the exterior of the 330i Touring, and this comes in a M Sport trim variant. So you can see the M Sport body kit at the front, you can see the blacked out grille, you can see the blacked out window trim, and of course you got your side skirtings, and I'll show you the back of the car as well. So you can see you also have your M Sport bumpers at the rear, and generally I think this is a very nicely spec'd car. It looks really good, not overly done and not overly pretentious in the sense where it's trying to be an M3 Touring. So obviously you do have some M badges at the side, you do have M brake calipers paired with these 18-inch wheels. Aesthetically, I think the 18-inch wheels are a little bit small. I think the car would look a lot better on 19-inch wheels, but of course there is a comfort consideration in place here. So if you are buying this car and you are thinking about doing more long distance drives and you have comfort in mind, then I think the 18-inch wheels will be good to keep. But if you are going for something a little bit more aggressive, a more aggressive aesthetic, then I think increasing the wheel size would be a very nice change. One of the topics that a lot of people are discussing is how the 330i Touring actually has the regular size kidney grills up front as opposed to the M3's enlarged grille. So I'm not sure which side of the fence you're sitting on, but personally I think this grille looks more appropriate on the 330i Touring, because after all, this is not an this is not an all-out performance car like the M3 Touring is, and you're definitely not going to track this car as well. So I think in terms of day-to-day usage, and this being a sort of a family car as well, I think this aesthetic looks a lot better. But let me just wait for the plane to fly overhead. But aside from the front grille, I think one of the interesting things about the 330i is also that it is not available in a sedan format at the moment. So the 330i Touring is the only 330 you can get. If you want a sedan, you will have to go for the 318 base spec or the 340i, which is of course quite a little bit more expensive, but also quite a little bit more powerful. But with the Touring format, what you get is actually, I think the real party piece of the car is actually the split tailgate, which I think many people love. You can see right here. By way of convenience, I'm not entirely sure whether or not many Singaporeans will use this every single day, but I think it is a very cool function, and I think it's something that a lot of people were very keen to see passed down from the 5 Series Touring in the past. So I think personally I'm quite happy to have this as well. And you know, as a family car, using the 330i Touring is also going to be very convenient because you've got this massive boot at the back with no load lid whatsoever. Very nice scuff plates here, and obviously your loading aperture is nice and big, so it's going to be really easy to fit a whole bunch of stuff in here and to remove a whole bunch of stuff from the car as well. Now it's starting to pour, so I'm going to jump inside the car and show you what it looks like on the inside. Alright, drizzling a little bit outside, getting a bit heavier. But anyway, this is the interior of the 330i Touring, and generally speaking, there's not any surprises here. It's a pretty standard 3 Series inside, but you do get the M Sport steering wheel from the M Sport trim package, and you also get these nice M Sport seats along with probably my favorite, the M Sport safety belts or seat belts with the blue and red trim. So all that is really nice. Otherwise, this car is in the standard black interior, and what you get up front is of course your curve display, your integrated curve display that runs OS 8, which is the latest system, and you also got a digital driver's display in front of here along with a heads-up display that honestly is actually really nice to use. You can toggle the displays on these various screens. So on your driver's display, you will be able to toggle between a few different menus. And what's nice as well is that although this isn't an all-out M car, it's just in the M trim, you do get the M colors integrated into your driver's display. It doesn't say M, but it does show the dark blue, light blue and red stripe in the middle here, which I think is a really nice touch. And then of course you can also change your layout to change what you want displayed on the driver's display, and you've got some cleaner designs as well over here, some more standard looking ones over here, and you can also toggle what shows up on your heads-up display, which I think in the industry is really not so common. It's something that I think this is a little bit of an extra touch from BMW. And one thing I do quite like on the heads-up display is actually your directional view, so it kind of shows you which direction you're getting your heading. There is a performance, sort of a performance display as well, but I don't really know why you would use that. And I think it should be able to display your song title as well as you are playing your music. So all this is really cool, and these are all fall into the luxury bit of the ownership experience of buying a 330i. Not so much the performance bit, but as a luxury car, I think this is a really nicely fitted out car, and build quality is solid as always. In fact, I still think that BMW is one of the best build qualities of its segment. So I think currently now, you know, of course different generations are a little bit different, but I think in general now, in this current climate, BMW has one of the better build qualities. Further down the center console, you've got a wireless charging pad here and 2 cup holders, USB port which are concealable in this manner, and then you get this nice chrome, or this brushed metal finish, so to speak. And then of course you have your very standard center console here, which houses your sort of your iDrive knob and your menus, your menu buttons, along with your drive selector. So as you can see, pretty nice cabin up front. Let's jump in the back and see what the rear of the car feels like. Yep, so as you can see, pretty nice up front, but this is also most likely going to be used as a family car. So let's jump in the back and see what the rear of the car feels like. Okay, so now I am in the back of the 330i Touring, and this driver's seat is actually in my regular seating position, and I'm 175 meters tall. And this is the very generous amount of legroom that I have. In fact, I can stretch my legs out as well. And I've got also a very decent amount of headroom. So I think even a full-size adult should be quite comfortable in here. And I think smaller size ladies, maybe ladies, young children would definitely be more than comfortable in here. In fact, if you can see, this passenger seat is actually pushed back quite a bit, and you've still got quite a reasonable amount of leg room for a smaller size person at the back here. Generally speaking, this is a very solid feeling cabin. When you open and close the doors, everything feels really rock solid. And climbing into the car, Seats are also really nice and supportive. They're comfortable, firm but comfortable, and should be able to provide you quite a lot of support even on longer journeys. There is a dark colored roof interior, which perhaps would make the car feel a little bit smaller than it is, but the windows are nice and big, and you've got quite a lot of light coming in through the quarter panel and the rear as well. So actually, I think it kind of balances it out, and the cabin still feels like quite a luxurious space overall. And what I like about the rear seat here is that you don't really feel too elevated. In fact, I think the recline position is just perfect. And I've got enough space to kind of lean back, put my arm up on the window edge here, and you still feel like you will feel like on a longer journey, you will feel like you're cruising along quite nicely. None of that super elevated feel where you feel a bit uncomfortable. You've got rear aircon vents at the back as well, which are of course expected of a car in this segment. You've got climate control single zone, so you can choose your temperature. You do get an option for two vents actually, so the main vent here and then the vent on the floor, which I think this is a bit of an extra touch. Not entirely necessary, but still nice to have. And then of course you've got two USB ports here, which I think are quite common for cars nowadays, because passengers will probably be on their phones, quite unfortunately, but in any case, this will ensure that they are entertained for hours on end. Now, in terms of carrying 3 passengers at the back, I don't think this particular car, or actually any of the 3 Series cars for that matter, are particularly suited, because the transmission tunnel is quite large. Still, this is rear-wheel drive, and this middle seat is of course raised quite a little bit as well. So I think this would be perfect for carrying 4 people exactly. For use as a family car, there's actually still a lot of space in front of this passenger seat. So if you push it to a normal seating position, you actually got more than enough space for a rearward facing child seat as well. And then of course, all you need to do is just flip up your ISOFIX covers, attach your child seat, and this becomes a family wagon. So I think all very cool. But of course, this car is a car that balances the whole act of being practical and providing you some performance. So we are done with the cabin bit. Now let's jump back into the driver's seat, take the car for a drive, and I'll tell you what I think about the car. Let's go. Okay, so back in the driver's seat, ready to go for a drive. But before we set off on the drive, let me just get the facts and figures out of the way, the boring bits out of the way. So this 330i, despite the 3.0 at the end, actually runs a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. And this is good for about 242 horsepower, 400 Newton meters of torque, and this should get you to 0 to 100 in 6.1 seconds. Now, to understand where this car kind of sits in terms of the whole BMW hierarchy, it's interesting that I'm driving this car in this particular week, because just last week we drove the BMW i4 eDrive 35, and that is actually a car that is very similarly spec'd up. Of course, it has an electric drivetrain, so completely different drivetrain from this car. But both of these cars sit within the $300,000 to $400,000 bracket, and both of these cars produce about 200-ish horsepower. The i4 has a little bit more horsepower, but it's a heavier car, of course. And both cars produce about 400 Newton meters of torque and will get to 0 to 100 in about 6 seconds. So it's really interesting because we've got pretty much a like-for-like comparison. In fact, I think no two BMW electric and petrol-powered cars are as similar as these two. So I'm pretty excited to try it out. And with that, let's go for a drive. So We're starting out the drive in comfort mode, and okay, just making sure my auto start stop is off. My wipers are on. So generally speaking, in comfort mode, this car behaves like any other family car. It's very comfortable to ride, and even under these or on these uneven road surfaces, you actually get quite a comfortable rollover effect. You know, you don't really, like, the suspension doesn't really slam over these things. So I think it's a really nice setup car. And if you're just cruising along, everything feels super smooth. The car is actually pretty quiet. And I would say that this 4-cylinder is probably one of the more refined 4-cylinder engines you'll find on the market today. And it does produce a very decent sound as well. Just like the 318i sedan that we tried a couple of weeks ago. And if you're interested to check out the 318i, you can click on the link here. It'll bring you to the review of the 318i. What we realized about the car was that although that particular car wasn't super powerful, in fact it isn't really very powerful at all, but the car was still super balanced and really engaging to drive. And I think all that can be found in the 330i as well. So if you're just driving the car normally at lower speeds, you still feel like you're in a proper driver's car. Everything feels very connected to you. You can feel what's going on behind the wheel, and as you meander through, or as you drive along, you can sort of feel every single bit of body movement from the car, and it makes you feel really engaged. And I think that is one of the biggest joys in driving a BMW. And I think in that respect, it probably does a little bit better in terms of the i4, because the i4 is a little bit of a more heavy car, and in that sense, maybe steering feel or driving dynamics might have been a bit affected. So not to say that the i4 doesn't handle well, it does as well. In fact, it still gives a very authentic driving experience. But I think when it comes to, you know, if you're comparing these two cars, because they're so similarly priced and spec'd, I think as a driver's car, I would definitely prefer the 330i. As a father myself, I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. I really see the appeal of the 330i, because it's a very subjective thing, but when, you know, as a father, if you're thinking about buying a car, it does always kind of tickle your fancy when you're able to get something that provides a very good family car platform for your family, so you know that your family is taken care of, but at the same time, you know that you're getting a car that can perform as well. And I think that's really what the 330i brings to the table, is that really good balance between the two worlds. And I'll show you what I mean right now. So if you put the car into sport, everything turns red, very angry. And when the light goes green, we're going to take the car, we're going to rev it up a little bit, and you'll see that the 330i produces a wonderful noise. So let's just wait for the lights to turn green. And you know, this isn't really a make or break feature of the car, so to speak, but if you are alone, when you're not driving your kids to school, when you're not dropping your wife off at work, or perhaps if you're taking the car to a car meet or a convoy drive, these are the fact that this car has a wonderful soundtrack also kind of adds to the whole appeal of the car. Not sure why this light is taking so long, but in any case, another interesting point that I wanted to kind of flag out was that this car is about 60%. Okay, I'll come back to that point. Let's listen to this. That sounds wonderful, and you would never expect that this is the sound made from the mid-spec car in the entire range. And of course, you know, earlier on in the review, I spoke about how the 330i is sort of the mid-spec car in the entire range. So, but I didn't really quantify that. You know, in that comparison, I excluded the M3 from this lineup. So, if you really look at the entire lineup, of course, right at the top end, you've got the M3 Touring, then you've got the M340i sedan, then you've got 330i Touring, and then you've got the 318. So, in a certain sense, this sits in the bottom half of the bottom half of the hierarchy, so to speak, right? But it really doesn't feel like half the car that the M3 is. In fact, I think it feels like more than half the car. And if you look at the price, or look at this from a pricing standpoint, the 330i Touring is about 60% the price of an M3 Touring. But if you compare the fun factor, the value, the performance of the car, and overall just what you get for that money, I really think that it's fair to say the 330i probably is 70 to 75% of the car that the M3 is. And and if you think about it in that way, then this makes it a really this makes the 330i really, really good value for money for anybody who requires the practicality of an estate or station wagon, but still desires the performance and the fun factor of an M car. Obviously, this is not an M car, but for what it is, I think it performs really, really well. In fact, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to have a bit more fun with the car. We are going to launch the car actually. Not really like a full-on launch, but let's see what we can do here. Let's put the car into place. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the car into sport mode. The car is still going to be left in automatic, traction control is still on, everything is still nice and safe and controlled. We're going to let this bus pass by completely so that we have a clear road ahead. And let's see what this car can do. Right, so brakes all the way in, accelerator on. It's a 6-second car, and it's not groundbreakingly fast, but that was sure a lot of fun. And I think the sound of the car sounds really reassuring as well. So all in all, to round off today's review, I think the key points I really want to reinforce is that I think the 330i brings to users an extremely well-balanced car in terms of how it's comfortable and practical on a day-to-day basis. Running on 18-inch tires, engine's quiet, refined. You know, when you're carrying your kids or you're carrying your family along, you can actually use the car in such a comfortable way. But at the same time, if you should so desire, you can actually put this car into sport mode and it will deliver a very decent bit of performance and a very decent soundtrack as well. Now, if you have any other questions about the car, questions relating to the car that I perhaps have not covered, be sure to put your questions down in the description box below. I'll do my best to answer those questions. And once again, if you are a driver in Singapore and you are thinking about selling or consigning your used car for the best price possible, be sure to check out the links in the description box below, because we can help you to do just that. Consign your car or sell your used car for the highest price possible. As well as we can also help you to do your insurance renewal should you require that service. If not, as usual, please take care of yourself, stay safe, and we will see you next time. Bye bye.